Nobody plans to go into sales. Dan Ridd didn't. University dropout, fell into it by accident, and spent the last 15 years selling into some of the biggest organizations in the world. $1 million targets in a role where relationships are everything. He's going to tell you what it actually took to get there, what it costs you, and whether the life it builds makes the grind worth it. Welcome, Dan, to the 20-Minute Career.
Amazing. Thanks, Jane. Thanks for having me.
Today, we're talking about enterprise sales and the exciting world that is. So to kick us off, what would be great is to hear about what enterprise sales is, the path that it took you to get there, and what was important in terms of you achieving where you are to today.
So enterprise sales really is quite varied depending on the industry that you're working in. For myself, I've been very heavily focused in HR tech for the last 15 years of my career, working with huge organizations like CBA, Medibank, Atlassian, Canberra, etc., over here in Australia. And then back in the UK, if you look at organizations like HSBC or Barclays Bank, or ASDAs. And they're organizations who have a huge workforce and are, in my world, have a very complex problem to solve. The enterprise sales field that I worked in was trying to help HR organizations find people, retain people, succession planning, so forth, so forth. So very broad, but enterprise sales really sits at that top bracket. How I actually fell into enterprise sales is really quite odd. So I'm sure like when you're 8, 9 years old and you're growing up and everyone says, what do you want to be when you're older? I don't think there's one single person that will say, I want to be a salesperson. I joke about it now. I know when I was younger, I was like, I want to be an astronaut or I want to be a teacher like my dad. I actually fell into sales. So I did A-levels and then the university path. Me personally, I had a lot of pressure from my family to go to university because my father was a head teacher. I didn't want to go. I didn't even want to do my A-levels, but I did it to please my family. I went to university for the first year, as you did, moved into halls and partied like mad for a year and failed my first year of university. Over the summer, I got forced by my parents to resit the year and I passed. And then I started year 2. However, something clicked in me where I was like, this isn't for me. Like university isn't the right path for me. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was studying criminology, educational studies and psychology because I thought I wanted to be a teacher. But there was a switch in my head where it was like, this isn't for me. I also met my husband back then. So we've been together 20 years this year. So met my husband and it was a case of uni's not right for me. So I moved to Newcastle to be with him. I was looking for a job at the time and there was a company called Orange, a telecoms company, and they were looking for salespeople. And I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to throw my hat in the ring. And I got a job with them for a business development manager, which is ringing organizations, ringing businesses to be like, hey, would you like to switch your 20 mobile phones that you have for people over to Orange? Got the job. And within my first month, I had hit my target, which is unheard of. And I made about £10,000. That straight away for me lit a switch in my head. I was like, wow, like this is unheard of. Like I'm a 21-year-old university dropout and I'm making X amount of money. And that continued and continued and continued. And I was very fortunate to have a mentor within the organization that could see my potential and was like, you've got the gift, Dan. You've got something where people want to talk to you. You have a skill set where you can really understand the unique problems that they have. And she took me under her wing and really grew me in an organization. I was there for 5 years, working all the way up to enterprise sales. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. So like I say, no one ever thinks I want to be a salesperson. If my kids turn around to me in 10 years and say they want to be in sales, I'll be like, okay, go for it.
So you've touched a little bit about what you were doing at Orange. So for those people that don't actually understand what you do on a day-to-day basis and the actual reality of the role, what is it that you do?
So if you think about cold calling, you're walking into a shopping center and people are trying to get you to sign up to charities or they're trying to get you to be a part of something, or you get someone knocking on the door and they're trying to sell you like window cleaning. That's what I was doing, but for businesses. So I was literally cold calling, driving to industrial estates and going up to businesses and being like, hey, is your phone contract with your organization up for renew? Do you have a phone contract? At the time, broadband was getting quite big. So those dongles, which you could plug them in on your laptop and you could work remotely. I'd literally be driving to these businesses and knocking on doors and being like, hey, like, is this something that you're interested in? That was 50% of the role because it was a field role. And the other 50% was cold calling, which is a huge part of any sales role, which is what we call lead generation. So that's where you're trying to get in front of organizations. That's where you're trying to get in front of key connections to get to that next step. And often you will 99% of the time come into what you call a gatekeeper, whether that be a receptionist, whether it be someone's voicemail, whether that be just someone stopping you getting to that next point. The biggest challenge that anyone ever faces in sales is getting past that gatekeeper. You get past that gatekeeper, that opens the door. So that's what I was doing on a day-to-day basis.
How has that changed now that you're working at an enterprise level?
Great question. So enterprise is very, very different. Enterprise, especially in today's market, you have to go to that organization or decision maker already solving the problem for them. So for the last 10 years in HR tech, I've worked for 3 companies I truly think are incredible, and I believe they're solving a problem that I believe in. You then take that problem, you put it onto that organization, you find the problem, and then you take that and you solve it for them already. That's how you get into those decision makers. And that's where good salespeople really excel. The second part of that I think is really important for enterprise sales, especially, is relationships. So sales is very relationship driven. If people trust you, they will listen to you. They'll take a phone call from you. They'll buy from you. I always say this. One of the things my first ever mentor said to me was, people buy from people. So if you're relatable, if people want to talk to you, they will open the door and they will have a conversation with you. And that's one of the skill sets that I think is really the key skill you would need for sales. And it's something that can never be replaced.
Sales is target driven. So that would be a big pressure.
So you're correct. The biggest pressure is a target. Like, you have a target over your head 24/7. Your sales manager, your VP will say, Dan, this is what your number is for the year, or for quarterly enterprise, you get an annual target. So let's, for example, use my previous organization. I had a target of over $1 million. I was responsible for bringing that money in for the organization. The pressure that comes with that is that I have to go and find lead generation. I have to go and find contacts. I have to go to trade shows. I have to do my own events. I have to do networking. You're constantly trying to chase that number, because no one's going to do it for you. You haven't got someone that you can rely on to go and do that. It's not a team sport. It's an individual sport. And I think that's the pressure, as well as having a target, is finding it and ensuring that you're keeping ahead of news alerts, something that's happening in the HR tech market, something that's happening to Medibank or Atlassian. They have a new chief people officer. They have someone come in, or the CEO announces a new initiative. You have to be on top of that all of the time, because you cannot turn up to a CPO and not understand their organization or understand why they are giving you time. So it's kind of it's quite a hard question to answer, because it's constantly evolving. Like, one of the things that I've done really well at in my career, like many others that I know, is that the best salespeople, in my opinion, know everything about an organization, know everything about that individual. And that's something that's a skill that's not going to disappear and is essential for sales, enterprise sales especially.
Yeah. So with AI emerging, and obviously it's having a massive impact in tech, how is it changing your role?
It's funny. I actually was talking to a friend about it this weekend, and I'm currently on a career break, and I'm like, what's it going to be like in 2-3 years when I go back? I personally fundamentally believe AI will never replace enterprise sales. It goes back to that initial point. People buy from people. People aren't going to buy from an AI, from a chatbot. It can do a lot of the heavy lifting. So the AI itself, even when the last 18 months, 2 years of my career, I've been building a market for APAC, and I've been using AI to help me do market research, to help me keep up to date on where organizations are growing, shrinking, how my product could support that. I used AI to do that. 5 years ago, that was me doing my own research, spending hours and hours reading financial reports, reading end of year reports. AI is going to play a big part in taking up a lot of those manual tasks. So I can see in enterprise sales, a lot of those manual tasks, such as understanding organizations. There's a lot at the minute, and I'm seeing it, and I actually disagree with it, but some salespeople like it. They're using AI to do outreach. So, for example, there's now AI that will go onto LinkedIn, which is a social network for businesses, and will do the outreach for you. There's chatbots that will go out there and have a voice agent that will ring Jane and say, hey, I'm Dan. I can see the pros and cons, but at that enterprise level, it really is about that trust. But I do see AI playing a bigger part in enterprise sales. In my opinion, it's finding that balance. It really, really is, because you talk to a CPO from Atlassian or from Medibank, they're not going to just buy from never speaking or meeting somebody either.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess your point around using AI for outreach as a professional in that industry, you can tell when it's a
Yeah,
chatbot, and it's like you just
100%.
delete, delete, delete. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
completely agree with you. If you're going to be spending millions of dollars on a
Yeah.
potential product,
Yeah.
you want to talk to the person behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think the world that we're now living in, especially for students, it is scary. Like my husband and I, we brought 2 kids into the world and we're like, our children will never not know a world of AI. AI will be ingrained in their lives. I think for people like you and I, we've grown up with it. And I think it's these last 5 years, we've really seen the impact on it. And it's been such a huge transformation. But from a sales careers perspective, like I've never, ever seen it happen so fast where I can literally go onto Claude or ChatGPT and be like, hey, tell me about Medibank. Where can I find a problem for them? 5 years ago, like I said previously, we were spending hours and hours reading through the end of year reports, reading through press articles
Where's
within
the
2
gap?
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's good if for efficiency and manual tasks, but from a sales career perspective, I fundamentally believe that relationships are going to be the key driver for enterprise sales.
Yeah, agree. So when you're thinking about sales, there's a big price that you pay when you are in a sales role.
Yeah.
What does that look
Yeah.
like? What's the honest reality, Dan?
I thought long and hard about this. There's 2 really key elements. The first one, I'm not going to lie, is the financial side of it. Like my life would not be the life I had now had I not fell into sales. I thought about going into the police force. I thought about being a teacher, incredible careers for anyone. But for me, I fell into sales and I have made so much money. It's unreal. Like I have properties all over the world. I've been very fortunate to create a family. Like for my husband and I to create a family, it's not easy and it's cost us a hell of a lot of money. And had I not been into sales, we would probably not been able to do this. So the one part of it is financially is incredible. The downside to that is the amount of time and work and energy you have to put in to make that money. You cannot join sales. I want to be very clear to any student, anyone listening, you cannot expect to go and work for a sales organization and walk away with $1 million by just turning up and working from 9 till 5. Not possible. My working hours have been 70, 80, 90 hours a week for the last 15 years. Planes to Vegas, planes to Tokyo, planes to Singapore, planes to the USA, traveling all over Australia, being away from my husband 80% of the time at the peak of my career. And that's a huge sacrifice that you have to make for those financial gains. So it's finding that balance, but there's people out there making $4 or $5 million a year, which is incredible. I believe I'm good at what I do, but they are like literally that's their life. Like they haven't got kids, they haven't got a partner, they literally live and breathe 18 hours a day for those organizations. I was at a point actually where I was becoming that person, and I had to recognize that that wasn't right for me and my husband and for where I wanted to go as an individual. Especially now I've got kids, no way. Like, but that's the price you have to pay. It's not a job that you turn up to or you turn your laptop on at 9 o'clock, you switch off at 5 o'clock and you expect to walk away with $500,000 a year. No, you have to give the time, the effort to make that money.
Yeah. But if you do, it can be worth it.
Very, very worth it. And this is what I think when you and I first spoke, I was like, if going back again, like I look back 20 years ago and I'm like, I would never have this life I have now. And this isn't me being arrogant. Like I've traveled the world. I've been on holidays that only celebrities would go on. We have incredible properties all over the world. The biggest thing for me, I'm very proud of, we have 2 beautiful children that have cost us a lot of money to do. And you can't put a price on it, but it has. And we wouldn't have this life if it wasn't for sales. And so sales can really, really change your life. If you really believe in it and you really have the skills to go to that next level, great. And you don't need qualifications. You don't need, look at me, like I dropped out of uni. Yes, I've got GCSEs and A levels, but the world we're in now is that back in my era, like there was a lot of pressure. You need a degree, you need this, you need X, you need Y. And even now, as you and I both know, like more and more organizations in Australia, like, yeah, no degree. You don't need any qualifications. You just need a very unique skill set.
Our fast final 5 questions. So we'll run through these pretty quick, Dan. What has this career taught you about yourself?
That I'm a workaholic. It really has. Like I care. That's the biggest thing. Whether it be work, whether it be my friends, my family, I care. And I think I've been very fortunate enough to apply my career to also a level of my personal life as well. Like I've cared about the organizations I've worked for. I care about my friends, but that is what it taught me is I care about everything.
On the flip side, what's a mistake or challenge that's taught you an important lesson?
I think the biggest challenge that I have has, on the flip side of that one, being able to switch off and turn off that part of my brain which cares. Because it also, to be very honest, it also has an impact on your health if you give too much as well. For me, like, I've cared about every single role I've had to the degree that I would be on the phone to a client or a prospect at 10 o'clock at night trying to solve the problem for them or trying to help them. And that can sometimes also have a negative impact on your own mental health, but also your relationships with your family, your husband, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one mistake where I would like to find that balance.
What skill do you think will matter the most for people in the future?
Adaptability. Honestly, these last 2 years, 3 years, the way the world is going, the emergence of AI, the economy, adaptability, to be able to learn something and then unlearn it and then learn something new. The pace that we're moving at, I've never seen it before.
That's really true. What excites you most about enterprise sales and where it's heading?
As much as I am 50-50 at the minute with AI, I really do believe using AI and bringing it into the sales cycle is going to be exciting. If I look back at, again, like I said, if I look back at my career and I had AI 10 years ago, the amount of time I could have spent with my husband or with my friends or not working on a Sunday because those financial reports were already reviewed, incredible. So I think that's what's exciting about our industry, is the emergence of AI, just finding that balance.
Absolutely. And finally, what advice would you give to yourself if you were a 20-year-old again?
Not to be too hard on myself. Like, I think one of the things with sales, and to any students listening to this, like, sales is great and you can make a lot of money, but you can also get very addicted to it. Like, when you're earning money, it's like, oh, you want more money, and you want to be the best, and you want to be number one globally. And that was me. That was great. But I think don't be too hard on yourself for that as well, because money also doesn't buy happiness, to be very honest as well. It buys you a lot. It also buys you a lot of problems as well. So not to be too hard on yourself would be what I'd say.
Great advice. It's really been great to have you on, Dan, and thank you very much for your honesty. I'm sure that a lot of people listening today will find it really insightful to have learned a little bit more about enterprise sales.
Amazing. And thank you for having me. And thank you for doing this. I think it's incredible that students have this opportunity to hear real life stories from real people. I think had I had this when I was a student, maybe I would have jumped into sales straight away. So thank you.